Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I was just busy enjoying my cabinet fort. But since you're here, welcome to the KB Cabinet channel, my very first video. My name is Rob, and today we're going to be building this. A wall angle cabinet. I'm going to be doing it entirely out of VCarve and sending it straight to my CNC for processing. Due to the potentially long nature of this video, just because of the amount of information I'm going to go over, I'm not going to show you how to build the face frame from start to finish, but I am going to go over a frame and I'll show you how we build our face frame. So first off, we are going to have our face frames is going to be 17 inches from point to point. That's going to be 17 inches. This is 2.25 inch stiles. And we've got, let's see if I can see this. So we've got this this 45 notch in here, and so this depth is going to be a 1/2 inch from the end point there to that. That's a 1/2 inch deep into the frame, and then this is going to be a 1/4 inch, and that's where you're going to run that angled dado, and that's going to let the wall, you know, come out this way. So the interior, that's going to leave us with a 14-inch opening here and a, let's see, 36, so a 33-inch opening from top to bottom, right? So, and I'm also not going to go over how to make a door for this because I want to focus more on the actual box construction for the corner cabinet. I want to briefly go over some of the tooling that I'm going to be using. So this is going to be my 3/8 compression bit. You can kind of see that. This is going to be my bit that's going to do the full thickness of the cut. So it's going to actually cut out the pieces. We have a 1/2 end mill, and so this is what we're going to do our dado lines with. So it's a 1/2 inch in diameter. This is what we're going to be doing the shelf drill holes with. So my machine actually has a drill bank, but VCarve can't control my drill bank on this machine. So what I had to do is I actually took one of those drill bits that would normally go up into the drill head, and I just put it inside its own tooling. And so that's how we get around the inability to control the drill head on the bigger machines. And the last bit that we're going to be using, this is the V bit. All right, so this is 2.25 inch diameter. It's a single flute. And this bit has a maximum cut depth of 1 inch. So this is the tool that we're going to be using to cut out that clipped back support that's going to go behind the cabinet. Now that we're loaded into VCarve, the first thing that I'm going to do is create a new file. Under job setup, single size what we want, 96 by 48, 1/2 inch thick on the thickness, material thickness. 0 is going to be the machine bed, and then bottom left for the XY datum. Hit OK. So the first thing I'm going to do before I get started is I'm going to go up and I'm going to name all of my layers, and I'm going to name them based off of the tooling I'm going to be using. And this is something that I just do for everything, every program that I use. So our 3/8 compression, we'll color this orange. I'm going to add a new layer. This is going to be our 1/2 inch end mill. We'll color this one blue, and I'm going to add a new layer, and this will be our, we'll just say 5mm drill bit, and we'll give this one a green color. Alright, so now that we've got our layers, I'm going to come over here to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to make sure my X and Y are at 0. And in the X, I'm going to put 36 inches. And in the Y, I'm going to put 11.5. Alright. Now, let's see. Let's make sure we have... I want to be in my 3/8 compression for this. So I'm going to right click. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to click that. And I'm going to move to 3/8 compressions layer. Okay, so now it's orange. So we know it's tied to that layer. First thing, Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select my 1/2 inch end mill layer. So we've got that selected. I'm going to right click and I'm going to throw in some guides. I'm going to throw in a, first we'll do a horizontal guide. And I'm going to put in my new position 0.5 inches. Hit apply. That's going to give me this is going to be my back rabbet line. So we use 1/2 inch backs on most of our cabinets. So I'm going to be using that 1/2 inch end mill to run a 1/2 inch back rabbet down it. So we've got our 1/2 inch tooling selected. I'm going to turn on snapping. I'm going to come over here to my line tool and I'm just going to click on the left side and then I'm going to come over here on the right side. I'm going to right click. I'm just going to delete that guide for a second. So you can see it's blue because that was what I set for the layer color. Alright. Now that we've got our rabbet, I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert a vertical guide. This one we're going to come over 3/4 of an inch. And typically on wall cabinets, your dado starts, you've got a 3/4 inch lip before your dados start on the either side. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to add another vertical guide, and in the new position I'm going to put 35 1/4, and that should give me my right side dado. That should be 3/4 inches spaced out. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn on snapping, come over here to the line tool, and I'm just going to create my dado lines. Come up here to view, guidelines, and we're going to delete all guides so we can see. So it's looking like a wall end. We've got our dados and our back rabbets, so now all we need to do is add the drill holes. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to come up here, I'm going to make sure I have my 5mm drill selected. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create let's do a horizontal guide first. And the first one, we're going to come in 2.5 inches from the top and from the bottom. So we'll do 2.5. That gives us our first guide. And we'll go another horizontal. And then this one, we're going to subtract 11.5 inches. We're going to subtract 2.5 inches from that. So that should give us 9 inches. And close that out. Now that we've got our two guides that are going to represent where the center of our drill holes are going to be, we've got to figure out where the holes are going to start at. I'm going to assume that this is going to be the bottom of my wall end. So we typically start our drill holes 5.5 inches up from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a vertical guide. And these are 36 inch, so we're going to go 30.5. We're going to go backwards 5.5 inches, and this is where our holes are going to start, and this is where our centers are going to be. So what we want to do now is we want to come down here to create new parallel guides. We're going to turn on relative to guide. In here, in the numbers, I'm just going to put 20. This is going to be the number of drill holes. So we'll just go 20 for now. Standard spacing is 1.25 inches between holes, so from center to center it's 1.25 inches. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to put a negative sign. If I were to leave it positive, it's going to go that way. We want it to go this way 20 times. So I'm going to put that negative. I'm going to create new guides. Okay, there we have it. So now that we have all our intersections, we're going to come over here to draw a circle. In the radius, this really does not matter. I'm going to leave it at 0.15. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, we're going to turn on snapping, and we're going to just start clicking right here on the center of each line. And the reason that this doesn't matter is because I just need the center point. We're going to let the physical diameter of the drill bit drill out the hole. Now that we've got all our drill holes put into place, we're going to close out of this. Let's turn off snapping, come out to view, and we're going to delete all guides. One thing I forgot to do is I forgot to select my drill layer, so let's just select all these drill holes. We're going to right click, move to layer, so we'll move to the 5mm drill bit layer. So now they're green. So if I were to select each hole, they select independently of each other. When I go to assign the toolpaths, if I leave it like this, then I have to assign the path for each one, and that will take too much time. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything. We're going to come up over here to group selected. And what that's going to allow me to do is if I click one, I click them all, and that's going to make it easier for me in the tool assignment phase. So what we want to do now is we want to right click. We're going to copy. We're going to paste it on itself. I'm going to use the arrow keys and we're going to go up just like that. And the very last step, I want to come over here to mirror selected and flip over the vertical, and all that is doing is it's flipping that back rabbit so that way we can make a left and a right. So that's it for the wall ends. So moving on to the back, we're going to come up and we're going to select our 3/8 compression layer. We're going to draw a rectangle. It's going to be 36 inches by 21.5, so that looks good. We're going to hit create. Alright, so now we are going to go into our end mill, half-inch end mill layer, and we're going to put in some dados. First one, I'm going to insert a vertical guide, and we're going to put this position at 35.25. Hit apply. We're going to add another vertical guide, and I'm going to put this one at 0.75 inches. And this is where we want our two dados to be. So I'm going to click my line draw tool, snapping on. We're going to connect these two, right click. We're going to do the same here. Just like that. Turn snapping off. Alright, so what I need to do now is I'm going to delete this guide, but I'm going to keep this one. And we're going to come up 5.5 inches just like we did, so that way our holes line up. So I'm going to put 30.5 here, and we're going to hit apply. Alright, so now I need to know where we're going to center these on, and to do that I'm going to close this out. We're actually going to put a horizontal guide in. I'm going to right click, and we're going to come up 16. And there are wall cabinets where the back drill holes go in the clipped back, but I'm going to put mine in the side, but I'm going to orient it more towards the back. So if you can imagine, this is the back towards the back side of the cabinet. This will be where the door is, the front. So I'm going to right click this guide. We're going to come to relative to guide, just like we did for the wall ends. 20 times, we're going to do a -1.2 offset, and we're going to hit create. And that is going to give us, just like before, all the intersections where we're going to put our circle. Alright, so we've got our drill holes added, so we're going to come up to view, delete all guides. We're actually going to right click all these because we forgot to put them in the drill layer, but that's okay. We're going to move to layer, 5mm drill. They should all be green, so we're going to select them all, group them, and now they are grouped. So the last thing to do here is we're going to select everything, copy, paste. I'm going to use my arrow keys, so we're going to move everything up, and then I am going to come over to the mirror, and we're just going to mirror that. And that is the backs. We will now create our tops and bottoms. So we're going to come up, make sure the 3/8 compression layer is selected. We are going to go back to the rectangle, and for our width and our height, we are going to go 23 1/4. We're going to hit create. We're going to close out of here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a horizontal guide. We're going to come up 2.5 inches. We are going to create a vertical guide. We're going to right click that, and we're going to come 20 3/4 and hit apply. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go turn on snapping. We're going to come to our line tool, and we're going to connect these two intersections. Alright, once I've got that connected, I can come over here to my interactive trim, and I can get rid of that. We'll delete these out so we can see what we got. And that's going to be my clipped. That's my clip for the back of the tops and bottoms. So now what we want to do is we're going to come back and we're going to create another guide. Horizontal guide, and we're going to come up 11 1/2 inches up, and then we're going to create a vertical guide, and we are going to put in 11 3/4. And what that should say, I need 11 1/2 from here, and I need 11 1/2 from here. So that 11 3/4 gives me that 11 1/2 right here. So we're going to do the same thing as before. Turn snapping on. Draw our line, connecting the two intersections. Right click out of there. Let's grab our trim tool. Let's delete these out to see what we got. And there we've got the basic shape of our tops and bottoms. The only thing we need to add is if it's going into a face frame, we need to add the notches right here and the notches right here. So to do that, we're going to right click. We're going to start on this side. So let's create a vertical guide, and we're going to come over 1.5 inches. Alright, and then we're going to create another vertical guide, and we're going to put, in this one, we're going to put 10 1/4. Alright, so this is where we want the notches to start. So the next thing we want to do is to add the two notches. There's probably a couple ways to do it, but the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to come down to offset and layout. I'm going to select an inward offset, and I'm going to do it 0.25, so 1/4 inch, and I'm going to hit offset. Well, first I need to select the outline and then hit offset. So what that did is it basically brought everything in a 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to turn on snapping. And I'm going to click right there, and I'm going to get it on this line. I want to make sure that I got a 45, make sure we're at a 45-degree angle. Come on. There we go, 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to click on that point, and I'm just going to, doesn't really matter where, as long as as long as you make sure the angle's 45. That's all we want to do there. So then we're going to do the same thing right here. Hopefully this one doesn't give us as much trouble. So I'm going to select my line tool. We're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to get it down here. And there's my 45. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of clip that off. Alright. So now we're going to grab our line tool. We're going to do the same. So I want to select that corner. I got a 45. It's okay if it hangs over a little. We're just going to get our trim out. And so now what we want to do is we just want to trim out this area. And I'm also going to trim out this little tail. But then I also want to trim out this whole inner line because we don't need that anymore. So we're going to get rid of that. So, well, let's also get rid of that. There we go. All right, so if I turn off snapping, let me delete all the guides out here. So there we got our top, and these are going to be the notches, and it does not matter that this is not rounded. The physical bit is round, and so that will give us that rounded. So you don't have to worry about putting a chamfer there. So this is done. So we're going to right click, or we're going to grab everything, right click, we're going to get copy, paste, and we're going to use the arrow keys and we're going to move this over. And for the 1/2 inch material, that is it. Hopefully that wasn't too painful to watch. Alright, so we're back at the main screen for VCarve. We're going to create a new file. Single-sided operation, that's all going to stay the same. The material thickness we are now going to use, we're going to plug in 3/4 material. Machine bed is fine, everything's fine, so we're going to hit OK. Alright, so here is our 3/4 sheet of plywood. Alright, so on this one, we're going to just do 2 layers. We'll do our 3/8 compression. I'm going to color that orange because that's what I always do. And then we're going to add a new layer, and this is going to be our V bit. We'll just put V bit. You can put, if you got different angles, you can put the angle it is. Yeah, we'll make this one. Let's make this one pink. Why not? Pink. No, that's orange and pink is too close. Let's do like a dark blue. All right. So we're gonna go back to our 3/8 compression layer. All right. So we're gonna make another rectangle. All right. This is going to be a square. And to fit this cabinet, it is going to be 22 and 11/16. Alright, so that is going to be 22.6875. And we're also going to put that in the Y, 22.6875. Alright, that all looks good. Alright, there we go. We got our first shelf. Alright, so from here, we're going to... similar processes, it's all pretty close to the same. Let's create a vertical line, and this one, let's do, so 22.6875. Alright, so this one, this is where we are. Alright, and we're going to come in 3.5 inches, and this is where a calculator is handy. So we're going to go 22.6875, subtract 3.5, we're going to get 19.1875, so we're going to see 19.1875. Alright, there we go there. Alright, and then if we close that out from the bottom, we're going to create a horizontal line. And we're going to clear out everything here, and we're going to go 3.5. We're going to hit enter, but it's apply. Alright, so let's measure this thing. Man, that sounds like some funky numbers. So let's measure it, and we'll just see where we're at. So I'm gonna zoom in there. Zoom in here, we're gonna click. And if you can see over here, I got it over just a little bit on the right, but we're 3.5036, so we're 3.5 inches. We're good there. All right, so let's turn snapping on. We'll go ahead and get our line tool. We're gonna connect the, say we're gonna connect the dots. I need to be a little bit more precise there. All right, so. Let's travel up here, zoom in. All right, that looks better. All right, so there we go. So that's our clipped bag for the shelf. So we're gonna come in with the trim tool, trim it out, hit escape, and there we go. All right, so for the top section, we're gonna come up 10.5 inches. So instead of 3.5 here, we're gonna go 10.5, so 10.5. That's going to get me there. And on this, we're going to do, basically, we're going to say 22 and 11/16 minus 10.5. That's going to give us 12.1875. So we're going to put 12.1875. We're going to hit apply. And whenever you have numbers like that and you're not sure, just always get out the measuring tape, because we want 10.5, and when you're dealing with decimals, there we go, 10.5, perfect. So we know the math works out. All right, so now same thing as before. So we're going to come over to our line tool, zoom in, boom. There we go. Let's turn off snapping so we just can see a little better. Hit escape. I'm going to delete this guy. I'm going to delete this guy. All right, well, there we go. So that's basically our shelf that's going to sit in there, and this one's, pretty easy to visualize. Once it cuts out, it's going to be an angled shelf. So same as before, we're going to copy this. We're going to paste it on itself. And you can use the mouse to move it up, or the keyboards. The mouse is faster, but the arrow keys are a little more precise. All right, so the very last thing we're going to do, I'm going to get both of these. We're just going to move these over out of the way. So we're going to make that angled clip support. So the last thing we're going to make is that clipped angled back support for the cabinet. It's going to go right across here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a rectangle. I'm going to go 36 in the X direction and 3.5 in the Y. We're going to hit create. Close this out. Let me just move this up and over a little so we can see what we're doing. All right, so this is basically done, but there is a couple steps I need to do. If I select this all at once, see how it's all joined together, I need to break it up so I can assign my 3/8 compression on the ends to cut all the way through, but I want my V-bit to do the miters on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to select it, hit N on the keyboard for node, and I'm going to start hovering over each corner and pressing the letter C. And it does not look like I'm doing anything or anything's happening, but if I hit N again to exit node mode, now I can select each line individually, and that's going to be important for when we go to assign the tooling. That's basically it. Let me, this one, the 3/4 material is not going to take up a full sheet. So we'll just kind of rearrange this a little better, and for the body parts, it's kind of hard to get more than one cabinet on a full sheet, but for like the shelving and stuff, if you're someone who's trying to be efficient, you can always you can fill this up with shelves and this piece, so you can at least optimize the full sheet out. And a trick, if for some reason, if you are using a a CAD-based cabinet program. So I primarily use a CAD-based program to do all my designing, and my CAD will automatically, it will cut straight lines out of the waste to make it more usable. This program won't do it, but an easy trick is if you're doing this on a full sheet of plywood and you don't want, it'll just punch these right out of there, and you're going to have some funny shapes in your plywood. So, one thing you can do is, you can just draw a simple box around whatever it is you're doing, and you will use your final cut through bit to cut that out. So that way, and you could even, keep this line going here, so that way you have a usable square here and a usable square here. So that way you don't end up, your only funny shaped scraps is going to be just this section here. So, all right, well, it looks like the only thing we have left to do is assign all the tool paths. Now we are going to start assigning the tool paths to everything we've drawn up. All right, so we've been in the drawing side of the program mostly. So now we're going to come up here to this little blue arrow that says switch to toolpath commands, and it's going to bring you over to this side, and this is where we're going to assign all of our operations. Here you can adjust the material if you need to. We're going to start out with our 1/2-inch sheet of plywood, and basically how I'm going to do this is I'm going to assign the drill holes first, then the dados, then the final cutouts. And the reasoning is because that's how I want the real world operation to be. I wanted to do the drill holes first. Alright, so we're going to come over, we'll just start left to right, and remember how we grouped these. So now, one click, I select them all. We're going to come over here to toolpath operations, and I just want to make a quick note that whenever I go into any of these commands, they're pulling the information off this tool database that contains all the information on the tooling. And if you're new to VCarve, this all has to be, you have to have your tooling information put in here before you can select it. So just keep that in mind. So with that selected, we're going to go to our drilling toolpath. We're going to come in, I believe it's 3/16. It's 0.375. That's how deep I want my drill bit to go, because that's how deep I need it for my shelf pin. If your shelf pin has a different depth, you can change that to whatever you need. But so we're going to come down here and we're going to name this. This is going to be the right back. I know that's kind of hard to visualize maybe right now, but we're going to do R_back _drill, and we'll just leave it at that. And I like to name my stuff very clearly, so that way when you get a lot of operations, you can easily identify which one it is. So we're just going to hit calculate, and if we reset our preview here, well, reset preview, and if I preview all toolpaths, we can see, bam, put them right there. Alright, so now we're going to go down here, we're going to click that, close out of this, same thing, except for we're going to do, what did I do, what was that, the right, so left _back, drill, okay, hit calculate. Alright, we're going to go back, now we're going to do, let's see, so that is all selected as one. We grouped all that together, so this is going to be our left wall end, so we can, all that's correct, so we can put left end drill, hit calculate, go back to 2D view, click that again, we're going to close out of that, and we're going to put right and drill. The reason I use the underscores is I came from a little bit of animation background, and that's just how I like to space everything, so that's just literally personal preference. Alright, looks good. So if we we've got all our drill holes assigned, and it's really that simple. So yeah, so now we're going to move on to the half-inch, the end mill, the dados. All right, so what we're going to do, start left to right again. So I'm going to select this line, and the reason I don't group these together, so you know how we group the holes together, is because you see here in a second, you want the tooling, the way that we're doing this, we need the tool to be very specific, on a very specific side. You know, we've got 3/4 here. I need that to be 3/4, so I need to make sure that my half-inch tooling stays on this side of it, and over here it needs to be on the opposite side of it. So if we group those together, it makes it hard to, it's not going to work the way I want it. So we're going to come over to the toolpath. We're going to go to the profile toolpath. And this data, we're only going in 1/4 inch. So let's put 1/4 inch on the cut depth. Let's go to my tooling. We're going to select my half-inch end mill, and I'm going to hit select. So it's going to do it in one pass. And so here's kind of a little trial and error. You know, it's, you know, some of you guys might know exactly which one to pick right off the bat, but I don't always know. So this is how I do it. So we're just going to pick, we know we're not going to want it on the line, and you have it down here. This is just the way that the tooling is going to travel, and then this is, do you want the tooling outside the vector, inside the vector, or directly on the vector? So you'll see what I'm saying here down here in a second. So we're going to come, let's say this is the right back, and we'll call this dado _1, because there's going to be 2 dados for each back. So if I go down here to calculate, what I can do is I can come back here to the 2D view, and you see here's my line. This is where the tool path is, and that's not where I want it, because it's going to take a ½ inch off this way. I need it on this side of the line. So it's very easy. We're just going to double click that one path that we just made, and we're going to click the inside on the machine vector, and we're going to hit calculate. Now if we come back, now you can see it is on the correct side of the line, because remember, we need 3/4 from here to here. So I need that tooling to be on that side. So now we know that if we come over here to this dado, whatever this was, we'll do the opposite. So we'll go to the outside right. Okay, so everything else should be the same. So we'll put right _back. I caps locked it, but that's okay. And we'll put dado _2. All right, so if we hit calculate, if we come back over here, see, there we go. We're on the right side of the line, or the left. We're on the correct side of the line, the left side. All right, so that back is done. So let's just repeat. Let's repeat the operation. All right, so let's go to our toolpath. All right, so we're gonna cut at a 2 1/4. Oh, I hit enter. I did not mean. So let's go back to that. Okay, so we want 2 1/4 deep. I believe what we've established that we want the inside left. So we want left, back, dado _1. I'm gonna hit calculate. I'm gonna go back, and it is not the side we need. So this is where, you know, the skill in running these programs is a very simple program. You know, you kind of figure out the little trial and error things, I guess, so to speak. And you know, a lot of these design programs are like that. There is one thing I do want to double check. All right, yeah. See, let's see. This needs to be. You got to make sure you plug your numbers in. I guess maybe I didn't hit enter on that one. So it was going to cut it at basically zero deep, and we don't want that. Yes. Same with this one. Let's see. Okay, we should be good now. Yep, we're good. And at any point of the way, you can test this in 3D. I'm just doing this fast to save time, but you can hit, you know, preview all toolpaths as you're going to check it. But you know, we're you know, to not drag this out as long as it needs to be, we're just gonna keep rolling here. So all right, so we're going to click profile. We're gonna go 1/4 inch deep. Okay, this, we should be on the inside. Okay, let's go left. Well, left underscore back underscore dado underscore 2. All right, everything looks good. Okay, we hit calculate. All right, so now we just gonna move to the wall in. All right, so we'll come up here to the rabbit first. Rabbit is the same concept whether you're using 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. And let's see, this is the left end. We'll just put rabbit. All right, so we'll leave it at that, and we'll just see. So if I calculate it, so whether you're doing a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, see, we set this line 1/2 inch out, so that full width of the tooling is going to give me the rabbit. If you want a 1/4 inch back, you just, you know, move this in 1/4 inch. All right, so there we got the rabbit. All right, let's close this out. Let's come back to profile. Alright, looks good, so we'll do left end data 1. Hit calculate, come over to 2D view, make sure that it's on the correct side of the line, which it is. Close that out. We're going to come back over here, select the right dado. Same thing, we're just going to switch the vector. Left end dado underscore 2. Calculate. Looks good. It's where we want it. All right, so now we go down to our last wall end, our right wall end. All right, so this one, same thing as before, except we're going to go right underscore end dado number 1. Calculate. All right, we're on the right side of the line. Okay, come over here. Let's do that for our last dado. Right. 2, and I believe I need to change my machine vector. Let's see. Yep. All right, so looking good. So if we go to 3D view, reset our preview all toolpaths, we should see that we're starting to, it's starting to look like it needs to. So it looks correct. Okay, so all we got to do is start punching this stuff out now. All right. So now we're going to come and we're going to select the outside of that back. Come to our profile. All right, so now we do want to cut the full thickness of the board. So it's 1/2 inch material. We want to go down 1/2 inch. We're going to come to my 3/8 end mill. And we're going to hit select. And you know, if you guys, so I am using an automatic tool changer on my CNC, so it is critical that I get the tool numbers correctly. If you're using an automatic CNC or a CNC with a tool changer that has automatic tool changing, do not use my numbers here if that is not the numbers that correlate with your tooling. If you have to manually change your tooling, then this doesn't matter for you, but just keep that in mind, that this is specific to my machine and my machine only. All right, so we 18. Okay, so we definitely don't want to do that in 2 passes. This was a 1 pass operation. I don't know why I put 2 passes in there. All right, so we're gonna go outside, I believe, and we're just gonna put. And I do the same naming convention on everything. So when I do my final cutouts, I name them cut through. So anytime I see the word cut through, I know that it's my tool number 4. It's my 3/8 compression that's doing the work. All right, so we're gonna close that out. Do the same thing. I don't know why it's doing. All right, so we'll put left, back cut through. All right, that's both looking good. All right, so then we'll come up to, we'll call this one the top. Doesn't really matter, they're both the same. Let's see, what am I doing? Top underscore cut through. And the reasoning, the passes, I'm going down to 1 pass, is that my machine, a 3/8 compression I'm using at 18,000 RPMs. That's, if you're using a smaller tool to cut this out, maybe, you can let this thing calculate the passes for you. But for me, I definitely don't need to do it I can definitely do it in 1 pass. Alright, so yeah, speeds and feeds are pretty important. I'm not going to go into that because that would take way too long, but it is, if you do any amount of CNC work, or you're thinking about doing it, your feeds and speeds is, that's a huge part of it. All right, so we're going to calculate that. So that looks good. So now we just got the wall to do. And what did I say? This is quick fit. Alright, so it's going to be left end cut through. Calculate it, just double check we're on the correct side. I know I go back and forth a lot, but I hate it when I get too far down the line and I realize that I'm off somewhere and have to go back and change it. So I just got into the habit of constantly going back and forth and just making sure. Alright, so alright, so that really looks like that should be it. So if we hit calculate, if I let's reset, if I preview all my toolpaths, I should get body parts. Alright, so now from here it should, if you double click here, yeah, so I got rid of all the way. So there you have it. So this is what it should look like when it comes off the machine. I've got my 1/2-inch rabbet back there. Although it does look like something's wrong with this rabbet, so you know what's wrong? I never did assign it. That's what's wrong. So real quickly, and it's good you're seeing this because this is a lot of what it is, how it goes a lot of the time. So we're going to hit, if I select my 1/2-inch end mill, we want to go down 1/4 inch. So we're going to put right in rabbet. Let me calculate this out. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm on the right side. And so what I want to do is I want to actually drag this up to be under my other rabbet. And the reason, so this is the literal order that your machine is going to run the processes. And so the reason I do everything together is because I want my machine to run everything with the same tooling before it switches to another one. If I were to move this drill down here, it will drill all of these. It'll go start doing the dados, and then once it sees it drilling again, it'll go back, pick that one up just to do the one drill hole, and then go back. So you want to be aware of the ordering down here. All right, so right here, this is your preview toolpaths button. So let's try it again. So let's. All right, that looks a lot better. I've got my rabbet up here and my rabbet down here, my back rabbet. All right, that is basically it for here. So the final step that we're gonna do is we're gonna close this out. Make sure you save it. Make sure you save it, critical. All right, down here, we're gonna go to this very bottom right Save Toolpath button. We're gonna click that. We're going to have selected toolpaths highlighted, and you want to make sure you click them all. Actually, we're going to do visible toolpaths, not selected toolpaths. So we want to make all of the toolpaths visible so you can see them all. But more important, you want to make sure they're listed right here. All right. So now that they're listed right there, we're going to you're going to select your post processor here. So I'm using a laptop. This is not my work computer. My work computer is connected to my machine. So when we actually go to cut this out, maybe I'll show you. But this is where you're going to select your post for your machine. You're going to hit save. It's going to bring you to your regular Windows screen, so you can choose where to save it. All right, so we're here to finish this out with the 3/4. The 2 shelves and then that clip back support. Real quick, I just want to explain what I'm doing here with these lines. I'm going to put a full sheet of plywood on there, and we're only going to cut out down here. And if I just leave it like it is, like I had said earlier, I get these weird just these weird shapes in a full sheet of plywood. So I made these lines. So I'm going to assign a final cut off here to separate, to basically isolate this set of scrap from the rest, so I can save this piece and I can save that piece. So that's basically what I'm doing there. All right, so we're going to come back over here to Toolpaths, and let's select our first one, our first shelf. We are going to go, let me just, real quick, let me just check that we're in the right, yep, okay, so we're in the right material thickness. So when we go here, we're going to select our 3/8 compression. We will actually want to cut the full 3/4. Again, I don't know why it's doing it in 3 passes, but we're going to go down to 1 pass. And we'll just put shelf 1, shelf _1, cut through. And we're going to hit calculate. Make sure we've got it on the correct side. So we're going to do the same here. We're going to do, select passes. We're going to do 1 pass outside. We'll do shelf 2. Shelf 2. All right, we got both of our shelves. All right, looking good. All right, so you remember down here that we split up basically we split up the lines. So we're going to select that first side. In fact, we're going to shift select the, well, we'll save that for a later video. We're going to do the step-by-step this time on this video. So we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to edit passes. We're going to go down to 1. And my work computer is set up correctly, so it doesn't bump it up to 3 passes. Alright, so let's go to, we're going to call this, let's just call this clipped. We'll call this support. We'll just put left since it's the left side on the sheet, and then we'll put cut through. Alright, with that selected, we're gonna hit calculate, go here, make sure that we're on the right side of the line. We are. So we'll come over here. We're going to do probably the inside left now. We're going to edit the passes. Alright, let's put support. Put right. And I'm just, sometimes, you know, I just got to get creative with the names of the parts, but I like to name every part. It's just it's a way that my brain works. I like to know what I'm hearing when I hear the part name, what it's referencing to. All right, so now we've got the left and the right cut out. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to come up to the top. We're going to hit close, go to our toolpaths, and we're going to come down here and we are going to select this V-bit. Now this is the V-bit I talked about earlier. I showed you the picture. Mine's a single flute. Let's select that. And it cuts up to an inch. So this one has an inch cut, and this one is going to do it in multiple passes. I am okay with that. I'm okay with that on the V-bit. So what we're going to do here, this is going to be the only tool that we've talked about that we are going to want to machine directly on the line. And the reason is because this is cutting at an angle. This is going to basically 45 this piece all the way down. When it does that, I need the very tip of the piece. I need this measurement to be consistent. So I need the tip of the blade to cut all the way on the line, and then it'll put that 45 on both sides. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put support, and I always name this miter on everything. So we'll put support miter 1. We'll hit calculate. And we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to close this out, and we're going to go to toolpaths, cutting depth, on the line. We'll call this support miter 2. Alright, so let's hit calculate. Alright, so then the only thing we have left to do is just assign these cutout lines, these waste saver lines. So I didn't join that one. That's okay. So we'll have it cut out this one first. So we'll go back to our 3/8 compression. Let's see, 3/8 compression. Go into one pass. And this one, this is where it doesn't make too much of a difference on how we're doing it. So we can leave it on the line. And I'm not even going to worry about naming this. And so then we'll do the same on this one. So we'll just make sure we're at a single pass on the line. We'll leave it at profile 3. That doesn't matter too much to me. Alright, so now we're going to preview all toolpaths. Alright, so it punched out this. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of that. And this one, I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing down here. Okay, so you can see how it put a nice miter on here. All right, and that's that V-bit going down. And it does have, like when we cut this out for real, there is a little skin left here, but it'll just pop right out there. But I can't. The VCarve still thinks it's connected, and I can't separate this piece from that without going a little deeper, but like in the program. But I don't want to do that. So yeah, so this is it. So this is what we're going to be left with. You know, we'll have that waste piece here, that waste piece here that we can reuse, and so yeah, so like I said, last step here is going to be saving it out. If you're using a manual machine, you're going to want to save out the 3/8 tooling by itself, and then you're going to want to export the V-bit by itself and run those as 2 separate programs. Or if you have an automatic tool changer like me, we're just going to select it all and save it out. So we will see you guys at the machine. I went ahead and I hung a door so you can see what the final product is going to look like. The only thing now is to test the shelves to make sure the shelves fit. And it looks like we are good to go there. So if you're new to cabinets, hopefully this gave you some knowledge. Hopefully you learned something. If you already knew what I was talking about, well, hopefully this was entertaining and maybe you learned a little bit of something about VCarve. Thanks for watching the KB Cabinet channel, and we will see you in the next video.